Well, what do we got? We got the news talking about dangerous pre-workouts. Now, when it comes to the news, it's one of my favorite sources for supplement information as well as like the latest bodybuilding tips because I love it when people in suits and ties who clearly go to the gym and bulk up and they use these pre-workouts themselves, right? I mean, who's better to ask than the news? So I don't have any bias against the news, but I have been through a lot of supplements over the past 20 years and I've seen a lot of news on various things, right? Here, we got a video sent by the Reddit community. I haven't watched it yet, so I'm gonna be reacting to it and learning what they are talking about because the title of this video, Gym Supplements Banned for Being Too Dangerous. I wonder what it is. Could it be SARMs? Because I saw SARMs in the thumbnail. Or could it be DMAA and all these wonderful stimulants that we all love, right? Let's find out.
Now here in the UK, dangerous and illegal muscle building supplements.
Eddie! They put Eddie in here. Eddie from Muscle Players is a legendary reviewer who hasn't reviewed supplements for like 5 years and they're using his clip. Interesting. Okay, let's go.
Dangerous and illegal muscle.
Dark Energy, Craze. Craze from 2011. There doesn't exist anymore. They have the original, not the original, they have the remake. It's not as good. It's garbage. It's garbage, mate.
Muscle building supplements are being sold to gym goers across the country.
The complementary medicines industry is worth more than $5 billion a year.
Yeah.
There are growing concerns that people might be inadvertently poisoning themselves.
Yeah.
It almost takes a sacrificial lamb to die before the Food and Drug Administration can take any action.
Yeah. Well,
I remember seeing these ominous posters.
I actually thought this was a news video, but turns out this is from Josh Brett. Okay. So, yeah, so it seems like it's a collection of news in the beginning. I thought that was something recent. Well,
We have a Cymex protein powder around my local discount shop. So I took a photo to try and find out what was going on. Advertisers are making...
So this one looks like there's a protein powder that was recalled. So I know protein powders have gone through this phase where they were caught spiking it with aminos, but I haven't heard of this where they recalled protein powders. I think this is in the UK as well, not in America. As I can see, there is a pound symbol right there. That's a UK thing, ain't it?
Protein powder, creatine, and vitamins, which made the excessive caffeine content warning even more strange. It was found to contain 5,000 milligrams of caffeine per serving by food standards.
What?
10,000 milligrams.
They put 5 grams of caffeine in a protein powder serving. Wow. No way, you would die from that because the lethal dose of caffeine is like a gram. At least a gram, or around a gram or two. So if there's 5 grams of, hang on.
Which made the excessive caffeine content warning even more strange. It was found to contain 5,000 milligrams of caffeine.
Per serving. 5 grams of caffeine per serving. Not creatine, caffeine. That's deadly. What?
Per serving by food standards. Over 10,000 milligrams of caffeine if you were to follow the advice on the packaging and take 2 scoops. The equivalent to around 100 cups of coffee. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to contaminated gym supplements. Recently, researchers tested over 3,000 supplements. 28% contain hidden banned substances.
Yeah, so it's crazy because the supplement industry is so unregulated. And in most parts of the world, they don't check supplements before they go out on the shelves. So you have supplement companies who put in stuff that's not supposed to be in there, but it's in there. And then users use it and they're like, wow, this is amazing. This is better than anything else I've ever tried. Does that sound familiar? It happens a lot. It happened a lot in the past and it's still happening today. And a lot of users accept it because they find it works and they want something that takes their training to the next level as long as it's beneficial and of course it doesn't kill them. But this is where responsible use comes into play, and it also shows you how far people are willing to go despite the FDA and all these health organizations trying to put a stop on certain ingredients, but people want those ingredients, so they'll get it no matter if it's on the label or not, which makes it more dangerous. So it's kind of like having the war on drugs, right? You have people who try to get drugs, but it's not allowed. So they sneak their way into getting them, which gets them into more trouble and potentially more risky because it gets them into risky health problem. Like it gets them to the territory of having risky health problems.
These steroids. This got me interested in the world of banned gym supplements. Ephedra was once used by 12 million people. The secret? Ephedra, an amphetamine-like stimulant.
So ephedra is super strong. I've used it on its own, and I can see why the FDA and supplements do not have it anymore, because people can easily have issues with it, especially if you have pre-existing issues with health, blood pressure especially, or you're overweight and you're using ephedra to lose weight. It's like a double-edged sword, because you get appetite suppression, but then you get risks for cardiovascular issues.
That boosts metabolism and fat loss. It spikes heart rate and blood pressure. With over 10,000 poisonings in 2002 alone, more than 800 dangerous reactions have been reported, including heart attacks, strokes, seizures, and sudden deaths. Most notably, that of baseballer Steve Betchler.
He was the 23-year-old pitcher who collapsed during spring training with the Baltimore Orioles and died last February.
So you have stories like this. Someone dies, they take some ingredient and they overdose, or they have an issue pre-existing, and whether or not it's directly tied to the supplement they were taking, which is ephedra in this case, they still blame the supplement itself because that's found in their system. It's kind of like COVID, right? If you have, when COVID happened, anyone with any symptoms, I believe, was reported to have COVID, something like that. But they basically blamed the ingredient or drug in their system for the cause of death, which is likely, like it could be likely. But then, did he take too much? Did he have pre-existing issues? How much did he take? Did he combine it with caffeine? And how much caffeine?
He had taken ephedra, and it was cited as a factor in his death.
You take ephedra caffeine products, they heat you up, and there's no release of the heat. You get very hot like a furnace with the door shut. And that's what happened here. His body temperature went up to 108 degrees.
Holy.
If you have a high blood pressure or heart issues, taking supplements chemically similar to amphetamines can be dangerous.
Oh man, I see my clip in here.
To catch the FDA's attention, revealing a little known fact. 1 in 3 Americans believe supplements are FDA tested, but they're not. Classified as food.
Yeah, that's the other problem too. It's like, who's regulating these supplements? And consumers who walk into a supplement store, like, a consumer isn't going to walk into a store and suspect something is wrong with their supplement or with the supplements on the shelves, because it's on the shelves. Like, someone has to have approved it. There's no way there's methamphetamine in pre-workouts, right? Like Amazon.com was literally selling Craze, which had methamphetamines, and consumers would buy it because it's Amazon, right? No one's gonna say, oh, Amazon's selling drugs, right? So it's crazy. It's crazy, the industry, what it is today. And that's what happens when you have a government or like organization trying to regulate all these supplements in terms of what they can put in their supplements and what they can't. And then the supplement companies go out of their way to put ingredients that are not on the label to satisfy the needs of certain niches within the user base of categories of supplements, right? Like pre-workouts. People want a pre-workout that works, but some people want something next level, something caffeine cannot just give you. So that's what's interesting about this.
I'm not.
It's like there's something that happens and then something else happens, and they're both, there's no, like, you have to choose your evil. Let people have what they want, or don't let them have what they want, but they'll still get what they want. People will always find a way to get it.
Drugs. They bypass pre-market approval entirely.
The FDA does not do any review of dietary supplements before they come
That's what I'm
to
saying.
the market. And I think that all consumers need to understand this.
This loophole.
It's crazy, because the same people who made Craze back in the day, the same guy, Matt Cahill, I think his name was, he put pesticides or something in a fat burner, and a lady died from it or got seriously sick from it. Isn't that crazy? And then he released Craze right after, and people were buying it. Like, that was flying off the shelves because of how strong it was. That's crazy, isn't it?
Supplements cheap and easy to sell, but it also lets unsafe products slip through. And the FDA only steps in after enough harm has been done. So
Yeah.
in 2004, after the baseball player's passing, ephedra was finally banned, but its replacement was already on the rise.
There's my clip! I got my packets from bulk stimulants. I got like an arsenal comparing all these stimulants. Oh man, I'm finding more and more YouTube videos, like using my clips. And it's amazing, man, it's amazing. I love to see it. There was another video on Jacked, and they were using my clips from Jacked, from my review video. Like, really good clips too, not just like anything, you know?
Nice.
A coroner has ruled today that a woman who collapsed during the London Marathon probably died as a result of taking a legally available performance-enhancing drug.
DMAA gained popularity in the mid.
So there was a marathon runner who used DMAA. When you run a marathon, you're running for like 8 hours. And you're taking DMAA. It's sad what happened to her, but that's what happens when the FDA doesn't educate, it just bans ingredients. And these ingredients should have some source of information that's reliable from the government instead of just like targeting it after someone dies, right?
Mid-2000s. It's a go-to stimulant in pre-workouts, prized for its energy and mood-boosting effects. It became the key ingredient in the most notorious pre-workouts, Jack 3D.
I always get the question of, does Jack 3D work? Hell yeah, it works.
It was a compound loved by gym goers.
Yeah.
I worked out so hard. I did 300 reps.
So DMAA is super crazy strong. It puts your body in a fight or flight mode. And when you take it, it's different than caffeine. Caffeine makes you less tired by taking away that feeling that makes you feel tired, which is a brain chemical that you naturally build up throughout the day, right? So caffeine does that, and it increases alertness and energy through that pathway kind of thing. DMAA literally puts your body in a fight or flight mode. So when you're combining caffeine, you're removing tiredness. When you're using it with DMAA or even DMHA, you're feeling like you're on top of the world because you have this energy and you're super alert, and then you have this fight or flight mode. You become Superman. There's no kryptonite. But if you have issues with blood pressure or cardiovascular issues, it can be your kryptonite.
The point where my triceps were bruised from how much I worked out. In fact, it was that good.
Yeah, and when you don't use pre-workouts and you use something strong like Jacked, you're taking it to the next level. You're not, yeah. Even for me, I'm using pre-workouts often, and I'm just like, I'm putting a lot of effort into my workouts, and so much so I get so sore sometimes.
I bought a whole tub and took it to Ibiza. I just took two scoops of Jack 3D, and I'll tell you now, I outdanced everyone.
You were on top of the world. You're on meth.
Often marketed as a natural geranium extract, DMAA dodged FDA scrutiny, spreading fast. By 2012, 22% of Army and Air Force personnel used it, 10% using it weekly. It was after Claire Squires collapsed near the London Marathon finish line after drinking Jack 3D for a final burst of energy
that
the FDA grew concerned.
The coroner described Claire Squires as a fit and healthy 30-year-old who'd run plenty of marathons in the past, but He concluded she died of cardiac arrest coupled with extreme exhaustion and complicated by the effects of the supplement DMAA.
Public scrutiny intensified after the amphetamine derivative was linked to the passing.
So when someone dies, the FDA comes in and they're like, okay, someone died from this stimulant. We don't like it. We want to get rid of it. And people have died from caffeine, right? People have been seriously poisoned by caffeine. You can easily drink too much caffeine and you would go to the hospital, but the FDA probably likely isn't going to ban that because it's so widely used. So I don't know how they would, like if they allow DMAA, how would they do it, right? Would they just let it be in supplements? But, right, like it's such a touchy subject. How do you let people use it without getting hurt? Because people could easily take, let's say someone took 2 scoops of pre-workout, the strongest stuff, right? Say it had 400 milligrams of caffeine. That's 800 milligrams in total. They're not going to die unless they're super sensitive to caffeine. But say it had like 100 milligrams of DMAA on top of that 800 milligrams, that's dangerous. So I can see why the FDA was like, let's just ban it, let's get rid of it. And that's in the US, of course, it's banned. But there's loopholes and other ways around it, whether it's putting it on in the supplement without putting it on the label or having some secret sauce ingredient that's not on the label.
Of 2 active duty solvents.
Or they make it in different countries and then they import it to the US, like Poland, Dark Labs, right? And they were recently raided, so they didn't really get away with it completely.
The increasing incidence of strokes, heart attacks.
But I think that was because of SARMs. They were, I don't know, it was a whole bunch of issues that they had, Dark Labs.
Prompted studies that would debunk the seller's claims of DMAA being a natural supplement, revealing no measurable levels of the substance in geranium plants.
Yeah.
Yet, sellers continue to use the appeal to nature fallacy as a...
So, High-Tech Pharmaceuticals was one of the biggest distributors of DMAA pre-workouts back around 2016, 2017. But then the FDA raided them, and the High-Tech Pharmaceuticals, they didn't just bend over. They didn't just stop and say, okay. They went to the Supreme Court with this. They fought as much and as hard as they could, and they even appealed like the decisions made against DMAA. And the FDA was going back and forth with them. The High-Tech Pharmaceuticals was trying to prove it's from a natural source. The FDA was like, it's not natural. But at the same time, the High-Tech Pharmaceuticals had some valid points. They were like, okay, well, if you make a birthday cake and you use sugar, then is it not natural because you use sugar and sugar is synthetic or something? And the FDA basically didn't see how, or the judge didn't see how it came from nature. And apparently there is a plant that has DMAA, but you need a whole bunch. So it's made synthetically. Same with any other stimulants. No company out there is grabbing a bunch of leaves from the forest and coming back to the lab and being like, okay, we got some caffeine. It takes a lot of plants to get 100 milligrams of anything. It does, unless you use like the whole plant and you call it a whole extract without standardization, right? So you need a lot of bulky ingredients bulky plants to get one ingredient, which is crazy. It's not practical for companies to do that. So they make it in the lab. That's natural.
A marketing shield, convincing customers that it was safer than it really was. By doing so, they were able to avoid the rigorous testing requirements typically imposed.
So this is a great video from Josh Brett. I don't want to show you the whole thing, but I'm going to skip through some of these parts. But I do recommend you watch this video. I'm surprised because I opened this video thinking it was like a news report. And I was, but I am reacting to his video. And I do recommend that you check out his video. It's super well done. And really, really well done. I highly recommend you do. I'll put the link in the description. But let's skip through some of these parts and you can watch the rest. So let's see what they say about Craze.
10 out of 10 now. Craze was marketed.
Oh man, I remember these reviewers.
That provides the ultimate in pre-workout powder. It was even the new supplement of the year on bodybuilding.
$32 for Craze, man. It's selling on eBay. It was selling on eBay for hundreds.
But when professional athletes started failing drug tests after using the powder, scientists quickly stepped in to investigate its contents.
Health alert now about the popular sports supplement called Craze.
It tested positive for an alpha-diethylenphenylethylamine, a methamphetamine analog, not listed on the ingredients label.
Yeah.
Craze.
So Craze was the best thing ever. The best thing ever. The build-up was so slow, but when it hit, it was incredible. And I would abuse that stuff. I would use it every few hours. I would be also so productive, and I felt like I was using my brain more. The secret ingredient was some analog of methamphetamine. So not methamphetamine itself, but some cousin of it. Like how we have caffeine, theobromine. It's like it's related in some way, but not completely. It has different effects. This pre-workout, I was using it like every day almost. And then when I stopped, I was going through withdrawals. My body was heavy. I wasn't productive. I was lazy, depressed. But man, when I was using it, so euphoric. So euphoric. I would call up people like, hey, how's it going? People I never usually call. And when I worked out, the weights were light. Super lightweight. Everything was light. My body was light. Everything was amazing in every way. And the pumps were also incredible, but that was from the drive that Craze was giving. Oh no, what happened?
Really is crazy.
Sometimes supplements are intentionally spiked with hidden ingredients to make products work better and to boost sales.
So I think they're playing with stimulants to
Some pre-workouts.
find something that will get people juiced up, revved up to work out.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they want strong pre-workouts. They want something that works really well, more than caffeine, because caffeine only does one thing. And we want stimulants that do other things. And caffeine, everyone's so used to it and so boring. And although it can be mood uplifting, it's not as good as DMAA, at least not on its own. It should be combined with other stimulants. Caffeine is so boring, we need more things. So people are looking forward and testing pre-workouts that have no reviews. They're hoping that it has something that's not on the label. But that's what happens when you try to take things away from people. They'll find a way to get it. They'll find a way to get it.
Aggressive stimulant, known demand in the pre-workout industry, and 5 milligrams of an HPTA suppressive SARM.
You see, you can sell almost anything, as long as you label the substance as not for human consumption. Something which
Dark Energy did this. And they put for research only, not for human consumption on their bottle. They got away with it for a while. Dark Energy was really good. And so it had not for human consumption, but people used it. I mean, obviously it was a supplement that had flavoring. So they were trying that loophole, that angle of it's not for human consumption, but you can do your research on it.
Gives users with zero safety guarantee or protection, which is why to this very day, you can find some pretty sketchy stuff in your local supplement shop.
This employee at a Nutrition Zone store in New Jersey was selling dark energy.
Eddie! Eddie, my man. Where is Eddie? Bring back Eddie. Hashtag bring back Eddie 2025.
Even though it was recently banned by the FDA because it contained an illegal stimulant, often compared to methamphetamine.
If you like dark energy, you better get it now, because I'll tell you.
So DMAA, the chemical structure is very similar to amphetamines, except it has like a few differences. It's like one group that's different than the other.
This video goes up now? I bet you the whole box is going to be sold out by midnight tonight.
This is sometimes used to add questionable research chemicals as performance enhancers to things like pre-workouts.
What's
It's
DMP?
often paired with explosives.
I want to see this.
People noticed that those exposed to it were feeling fatigued, experiencing severity of the side effect.
I actually don't know what DMP is. I've never heard of it, but I do recommend you watch this video. And this was really well done. And I'll leave the link to the video in my description. But if you want to be completely safe from supplements, there's one way to use third-party tested supplements. So Transparent Labs is one of them, and they do third-party testing, and they do standard pre-workouts and supplements for years now, decades. So you want to go for a company that's known to put out supplements, and they have a history, they have a track record. They're not just like a new company that just popped out of nowhere. You're going to take a risk, especially because these companies can pop up out of nowhere and disappear shortly after. And they should have social media. They should have existing reviews. On my website, fitfrick.com, I'm paying users for the review, so honest reviews are on there as well. And it's not difficult to find standard pre-workouts. If you want to be completely safe and not fail any drug tests, you would avoid exotic stimulants like DMHA, DMAA, these kind of things, because they will trigger a false positive, because the drug tests that's done in the beginning are usually the cheap ones. And then when they go deeper, they find out, okay, it's not the drugs that we thought it was. So be careful out there. Check out the link in the description for the video, for the original video. I do recommend it. And stay safe, do your research, and monitor your blood pressure. I think that's the best advice I can give. That's about it. See ya.